Hello, everyone. Welcome to Autism Demystified. My name is Dr. Vladimir Bariev, aka Dr. Vlad, autism expert, general pediatrician. Looking forward to a wonderful conversation today with our guest, Cara Tyrrell. Going to read her lovely bio, and then we'll get to delve in a little bit deeper about her wonderful work and all the great things that she does for mankind, womankind, humankind included. So, Cara Tyrrell is a mom to three, a Vermont-based early childhood educator, a collaborative parenting coach, a teacher trainer, and the founder of the wonderful Core4 Parenting. She is the passionate mastermind behind the collaborative parenting methodology, a birth to five soul and science-based framework that empowers toddler parents and educators to turn tantrums into teachable moments. I love the alliteration there. That's beautiful. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What did I do? What it didn't say, but it did, is that I'm also a linguist. So that alliteration makes great sense.
It makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Absolutely. I want to start out by having our audience learn a little bit more about you personally. So, you are an early childhood educator, and what initially inspired you to pursue, and a linguist, of course, what initially inspired you to pursue a career in helping parents?
You know, being a parent, being a mom was really all I ever wanted to be. I was that kid, that teenager where people said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'd say, "A mom." So being a parent was always paramount and primary to meeting my dreams in life. And following in the path of my parents, who are both teachers, kind of led me to be interacting with parents on a daily basis, even before I was one. And I realized, especially after I had our first child, that the two were not mutually exclusive, that the parenting work that goes in between birth and five in the home environments and in the world so inform how successful a student was when they walked through my classroom door. And so for me, it was just a natural shift once I started realizing that the kids, they just didn't have the skill sets they need to be successful in the classroom. They knew ABCs, one, two, threes, colors, numbers mostly, but they didn't have the social emotional skills or the interpersonal people skills or even like a sense of self-identity and confidence enough to put themselves out there in the space that we were learning in.
So basically, you're saying you found that you didn't see these children as having mastered the skills of like the ancient Stoics of like learning from your failures, and in life, there's no such thing as failure. That it's just an attempt to learn from and to gain that residual strength and to continue to improve from one day to the next, and be willing to show up even when things are hard, especially when they're hard, because life is hard and full of challenges. Is that's kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. So well said. All of those self skills, right? That self identity, that sense of self, the resilience piece, the ability to recognize what's happening in somebody else's experience, even if it's not the same thing that's happening to you or for you. And I tell parents all the time, parenting is a personal development journey that you've been launched onto. And what you're doing is you're raising another human being. And from birth, it's their personal development journey. So the humanness is what we need to be fostering and nurturing, with less emphasis on the cognition and what do they know, and more emphasis on that connection and who are they and do they understand that about themselves.
It's very beautifully said. I love that a lot. So on your website, you offer many resources for parents, including webinars and podcasts and articles. Can you tell us, from those resources, which of those have you found to be more popular resource for the families
Ooh,
to
that's
use?
a fun question. I don't often get that one, Dr. Vlad. Thank you. Well, of the resources, we try to create opportunities for you to tap into what you need at the moment. So I have
Hmm.
a very popular resource called the 5 Mindful Mantras for Managing Toddler Meltdowns. But that's not about the toddler. It's about the parent. It's the mantras and the resources that you need as an adult to stay present in the moment of a meltdown. And
Hmm.
then we have other guides that focus on the child's experience, like our transition guide that helps you support your child to move through some stopping one thing and starting a new thing without the tantrum and the tears. And actually, our most recent is becoming very popular, and it's in the language lane. And it's the 5 things that your toddler needs to hear you say every day to feel truly seen and heard and loved.
Uh, those sound like excellent resources for families. I strongly encourage everyone to check them out. One question in particular I wanted to speak with you about is discussing the Core 4 connectors and skill areas. Can you tell me how did that methodology come about? Was it something that you put together through your years of experience and insight, or from working collaboratively with families, or did it come about some other way?
Yeah, it definitely is something that evolved over time within myself. One
Hmm.
of the things that I say about myself is I'm a lifetime lover of littles. Like I've always just been drawn to small people, and they've been drawn to me. And it's kind of that sixth sense, that energy field where we just get each other. And I could never really put words to it or describe it very well until I started working with littles in the school setting and had my own at home. And then I had this aha moment and I said, "Oh, these are the human connectors that we are developing through every interaction we have, through every hug that we give, through every smile or frustrated eyebrow." So I realized that the foundation for successful learning came from nurturing a mutual trust between the adult and the child, a mutual respect, and an open communication channel where you're always honest, age appropriate, but you're always honest. Because when you anchor a relationship in any setting in these 4 connected points, then you've set yourself up to successfully have winning moments together. And you've also successfully set yourself up to move through challenges and have hard conversations and do the hard work. And so when I started my studies and I started learning about early childhood education, and I am also a deaf educator, so learning about all the different ways that communication needs to shift with kids who are hard of hearing or profoundly deaf, I realized this is the key. The words, how they go between two humans, it's less important than these feeling connectors. This person who loves me is always honest with me. They trust me. They're willing to hear my ideas. They're willing to respect that I have an opinion, even if they don't always say yes.
I see that. That's very beautiful. They teach us a very similar concept in medicine, and it goes back to the idea of trust. So that what I'm hearing you say is similar to what I've been trained during my training, and I try to embody this to the best of my ability. I'm no expert at it yet. I'm trying to work on myself, of personal development for life, just like yourself. But well, the saying goes that n- no matter how much you learn in medicine, no matter how many research articles you read, no matter what you know, people don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So your children are the exact same way. They don't care what you want to teach them unless they feel that they have that trusting bond with you, that you're going to be someone that has their back.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that parallel so much. And what's really true for kids is not only do they not care, They have no way of knowing that they're supposed to care how much you know. They're not there yet, right? That part of their cortex development has not been completed. All they know is how they feel.
Mm,
Kids, especially 5 and under, are just one big body of emotion. They lead with feeling, and we are cognitive. We try to problem solve everything immediately in our executive functioning brain. And so they lead with feeling, and we come back at them with logic. And they
mm.
say, what am I supposed to do with this logic? I don't understand this logic. I just know how I feel right now.
Absolutely. Wow, that's so powerful. I never looked at it from that perspective before. You have enlightened me today. I mean, we always uh, in the back of our minds when I'm counseling parents as a pediatrician, we talk about, your child is doesn't have their fully developed like rational prefrontal cortex set in stone yet. It's still growing, it's still developing. But the fact that we approach each other from these different points of views, these seeing the world through different perspectives, it really is it really is powerful. So how can with practical tips now, we're going to give families some gold nuggets. What small things can a parent do today in here in New York City? We have a snow day, a very mild one, but it's still snowing. On a snowy day like today, what can parents do with their young children to add points into the piggy bank of the trust deposit fund?
Oh, oh, I love this. I love it. You just tapped into something huge. And I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Covey's work, but he talks a lot about emotional bank accounts. And so, what you just said about depositing into kind of the trust account, that's just perfect. That's what we do every time. So, one thing I know about a snow day, especially when it's kind of unexpected or just out of the norm and probably tagged onto a holiday, that vacation they had, um, is that it can be really challenging for us as adults to let go of what we were excited to step back into and what we were ready to do in this day and flex, right? And so, just be honest with your kids. Speak to them this afternoon and just say to them, or whatever day it was, wow, this is not the way I expected this day to go. This was unexpected. I thought I was going to be able to do these things. Because of the snow day, I can't do them anymore. I'll be honest with you, I was feeling a little frustrated about it. But then I thought to myself, what a cool opportunity we have that you and I can spend some special time together we don't normally have. I wonder what your ideas are for what 2 fun activities that we could do this afternoon that we don't normally have an opportunity to do. Now, if you're talking to a 2-year-old, you're going to bring it down to that 2-year-old level. You're going to speak in really short sentences, 6 words or less. Wow, this was unexpected. I had some big feelings. I'm feeling better now. I'd love to play with you. What's your idea? What should we play? Bring it way down, right? If you're talking to your 4-year-old, you can use that dialogue that I just modeled before that because they can access that dialogue and they have a more strongly developed sense of depth of feeling, so they can understand the difference between frustrated and disappointed and overwhelmed, where your 2-year-old may not quite be there. So that's just a great example of how you can model your emotional regulation process, invite them to share theirs, and then ask them their opinion about how the time should be spent.
So you're saying that one of the ways that we can deposit into our child's trust bank is to basically be vulnerable with them and share your emotions, speak the emotional language that they have, that they're familiar with, and reflect to them. Like, I also have feelings, and here's what I'm feeling, because they're at the age where their theory of mind hasn't developed yet. They don't see things from other people's point of view as clear. So you are guiding them and showing them that here I'm being vulnerable with you, and that's a quick deposit into the bank account. There are some old school parenting advocates, or even like my own grandparents who would say like, you don't show vulnerability to kids. You want to see them see you as strong, as a superhero. Can you please speak to that mentality and mindset?
I would love to speak to that because, yes, I understand that. And the generational gap between when that was the parenting norm and the shift that we're now seeing to collaboration and conscious awareness and inclusivity with our children, it's not that big a time gap. So I can understand the generational whiplash that's going on for some people. But look where it's got us. I mean, we just have to look to the results of kind of stonewalling our kids that way and creating this invisible barrier that I am a certain way of being because I'm an adult and you are a certain way of being because you're a child. So therefore the expectations on us are also different, has led to generations of intuitive power struggle. And
Mm,
power struggle never ends up in a resolution. Even if there's a repair or an apology on the other side, it doesn't have the effect of giving kids opportunities to learn the skills they need to be successful independently at school, in the world as they grow. So that's the reason for this shift, that when we are able to model humanness, we raise humans who are self-aware. And that's what we need in this world right now. We need kids who are growing up aware of what's happening inside their bodies, what that reflects when it's coming out of their mouths, the ability to regulate their physical being so that they're not using hands or bodies or feet to communicate what words could say better.
absolutely. Where do you find is the boundary line? Now, we're talking about generational gaps and shifts over time. There have been one of the biggest indictments on more what they would refer to as gentle parenting style, or more or less strict parenting style, we'll call it, what have you,
Mhm.
um, is that you can take it to a point where you're getting in the way of establishing that relationship with your child, that you know what's best for them, that the
Mm,
child has all of their needs met for them, so they're not learning to meet their need for themselves. Like,
right.
where do you see parents like making the wrong turn in having good intentions and trying to speak more to their child's level, but ending up like having the opposite impact and the opposite effect? Like, where is that cutoff for you?
These are such fantastic leading conversations. Great questions. So, what usually happens, whether it's in education or parenting, is when people realize that it's not quite working, instead of finding the midline solution, we go all the way to the other side and we try that for a little
Mm,
while. And we go,
mm,
wait, that's not working either. So what you just described, I don't know if you're familiar with the square grid that has the different styles of parenting set up, right? And so what we're looking for, what you just described, is someone who it's all they have is love. They lead with love. Everything is love, right? Everything is that emotion and that opportunity and that permissiveness. That isn't going to do it either, right? That's why my methodology has two sides to it. The first one we discussed in detail are those connectors and that relationship-based model. But what they allow you to do is create opportunities for your child to then practice the skills of controlling their physical body, and how to engage with others, and how to be patient and wait, and all the things that we need them to do. So the answer to the question is, you want to create the border, you want to lay the boundary line with love and trust, and respect and just be honest with them. That is not a choice right now, right? You need to lay the boundary line, but then inside the boundary is where the two of you can have a collaborative experience, allowing them some choice that does not exceed what you said wasn't going to happen.
Hmm. Would you be able to give us an example, like a situation if there's a child that says they don't want to put their shoes on to go to school in the morning?
Right?
Yes.
I mean, those morning routines are tough. Let's just be honest, right? With most of the parents I work with, their kids are, especially kids who are power struggle kids, who are like, it's my way or the highway. They need a lot of pre-forecasting, pre-work, pre-planning of strategies that allow them to feel in control as they go down that path. But let's just say, for example, that you have a toddler in the back seat and you're going to the grocery store, and this is the kid who's always grabbing off the shelf, right? And you
Mhm.
know they're going to do it, and you're already frustrated about it. You can lay the boundary. We are going to the grocery store. Today we are buying food. We are not buying toys. Because that's always what they're grabbing, are those things that they place in just the right spot where they're like, oh, look at that. We are not buying toys. You laid that boundary line, and you are not going to go back on that. You're going to
Mhm.
follow through on that. So you get into the grocery store and they start grabbing, and you say, oh, remember I said we are buying food. We are not buying toys. You can have a conversation with them, inviting them to help you choose the food, right? The next thing I need to get is a vegetable. Should we get broccoli or zucchini? Which would you prefer in the refrigerator this week? So you are leading them away from that borderline that they're getting ready to push all the buttons on, but you're bringing them to a space where they're included in the decision making, because that's ultimately what they want. They want to be part of a decision making process with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That helps a lot. You give them a small limited number of choices, which gives them some control, but it's not outside the boundaries of what you said at the beginning. It's not going to be any toys involved here, buddy. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
So that's
And can I
very
just
well.
say, I never say sorry.
Oh no, I'm not sorry to them. I'm saying, just saying
Yeah,
in
right.
general. But
Yeah.
yes,
But
that's a fair point. Never say
that's
sorry.
that's really important for parents to hear, because it's so instinctual for us, and it's not even a true apology. Like, sorry is an actual apology word, but when we say it like that, like it's almost like, I don't know how to describe it, but
Like you
you know
did
what I
something wrong.
mean.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm treating you like
exactly.
I'm doing something
Like,
wrong.
here, I laid the boundary line for you, but now I'm going to apologize to you for the boundary that I laid. So fight that urge. Fight that urge.
Well, parents are thinking probably from my perspective, like I'm sorry if that makes you unhappy, but that's just the way it's gonna be. Like I'm sorry
Yeah.
if you don't like what options are, but those are the options.
It's such a tricky phrase, and this is where the linguist in me gets all nerdy about it. But if that's the meaning, right? We speak for meaning interpretation. So if that's the meaning, then I usually turn it back onto the kiddo. And I, not in a bad way, but I say, "Oh, you really wish you could have that." Right? Instead of, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you have it," it's, "You really wish you could have
Mm.
that." Because wishes are possibilities, they're not a sure thing. And so, again, that gives this cognitively developing brain an opportunity to practice flexible thinking. Sometimes it ends in something I want, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I get it right away, sometimes I have to wait.
Well, I realize that there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're parenting a child, because they have a strong number of wishes and a
Yeah.
very persuasive personality. Because children are, we learned this day one in business classes that I've taken, that kids are the best salespeople in the world. They will get the job done. They will sell whatever needs to be sold to you.
Yes.
They're just incredible. They're extremely talented at it. And as parents, we have to know that what we're dealing with, that we're dealing with someone who's very good at getting their way. And
Yeah.
because we love them, we have to, uh, with our wonderfully developed prefrontal cortex, cortexes, we have to use the power of our words
Mhm.
with what you're describing, the linguistics of our interactions with them, in addition to our intentions, in a very purposeful and meaningful way. That sounds like it takes a lot of practice. It sounds like something that somebody we may need to be coached in. I
Mhm.
wonder, do you also offer one-to-one coaching for parents?
I absolutely do. I do. I have a course that people can work through on their own if they choose, but ultimately, what people usually tend to do is add on the one on one coaching because then we can go deep into your child's specific who they are, what
Are you
their
saying all kids are
tendencies
different? Is
are.
that what you're trying to
All
say?
kids are different. And those kids who are the most persuasive, who are the most persistent, you know what that really is? That is a gift that all kids are born with at birth, that they don't believe that failure exists.
Oh, that's
They
beautiful.
believe that we just keep trying, and once we keep we'll just, "Oh, that didn't work, I'll try another way." And as an adult, we turn around and we call that something different, and it's a really positive trait. So what we don't wanna do is squash that spirit. We just wanna teach them how to use it in a different way that doesn't cause us to constantly feel like they're just barraging us. So
Use that
yes, the
talent for good and not for evil.
challenge for good. Yeah. Yeah, so working with parents one-on-one is one of my favorite things to do because we can get deep and we can create real transformation, usually in one or two specific spaces in the home or like moving from home to school that they struggle with.
Now you mentioned something a very beautiful point, and I can't let this show go on unless I mention it. That you have it's beautiful alliteration, turning toddler tantrums into teachable moments. Um, Specific tips on how we can transform a toddler tantrum into a teachable moment. Obviously, it's not in the moment of the tantrum because they're probably not really interested in listening to anything teachable at that moment, I would assume. But I will let you take it away.
Okay. Well, let's start there actually because so there's proactive and there's reactive strategies. And a reactive strategy is one that's going to be happening in the moment. We weren't able to proactively avoid the tantrum by laying those strategies in place ahead of time. But so here we are, it's happening. There's still teachability in the moment. It's just not the brain teachability that we were taught, and we covered that, right? Because there's three states of that our brain fluctuates between. And if a child has gone into tantrum mode, they're now in what we call survival state. And that is at the base of the skull, they are not able to access that executive functioning that we want them to be learning about. So if a child's in survival state, what they're looking for from you is safety. That's it. So there is a teachable moment here in that you can do everything but speak. You can get down on their level and show them the physical safety connection. You can open your arms wide and show them the connection that they're looking for. You can put a smile on your face and take a very deep breath. And you can use all the non-verbal communication cues to signal to them, you are safe. I got you. I don't expect anything from you right now, except for you to go ahead and move all that energy out of your body that's coming through tantrum style. So that is one way that teachability through connection and empathy and all of those trust factors that we were just talking about are possible in a tantrum moment. When you're outside of the tantrum moment, so the tantrum moment has happened, it's 2 days later, you're approaching a similar scenario that's about to happen, and you're like, "Whoa, I remember what happened last time. Let me see what proactive strategies I can use, what proactive conversations that do involve the executive functioning state that they're currently calmly in that I can do in order to get us smoothly to the other side instead of what happened last time." So there's proactive and there's reactive. When we're working in proactive strategies, we're targeting specific skill sets like time management, which is where the getting on the shoes in time to get out the door comes in. Like flexible thinking, the ability to delay gratification, and the ability to regulate, process, and identify our own emotions. Those are the skills that successful preschoolers and kindergarteners have in spades, and the rest falls into place.
Okay. Well, that was excellent. Um, where can families learn more about your services and what you do? How can families contact you?
The best way to contact me is actually just to come listen to my podcast. I highly recommend listening to some of the short teaching episodes and then some of my guest episodes as well. Get a bit like a more broader sense of who I am, what this methodology encompasses. And if you identify with it, if you say, yes, this is something I want to pursue in my own home, in my own life, then you book a complimentary connection call with me and we go from there.
And we will make sure to add the link to your podcast and to your website in our show notes for this episode. Cara, I thank you so very much for your time and your expertise and sharing with us this very difficult journey called parenting, which we can talk about it for days. It doesn't make it easier, but it does give us specific areas where improvement may be necessary, where we can make adjustments and grow in a more harmonious way with our children. I thank you so much for your time today. And for our listeners, navigate autism with confidence. If you are in New York State and you're looking for a pediatrician with experience in autism to help you with a customized developmental plan for your child, I am Dr. Vladimir Bariev, and I can be reached at 917-819-5056. And we'll be more than happy to work with any families interested. Thank you so much, Tara.
I appreciate you, especially that call out at the end that parenting can be joyful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No question.